to make a couple of comments, then we'll open up to everyone here. If you raise your hand, I'll select you, and or we're used to speaking up anyways. That's okay too. What else do I want to talk about? Hold on for just a second. So basically, I without getting to any, just the spoiler alert is, I really think everybody's wondering, is the state of Israel going to be okay? And let me just give you one assurance here. I think that Benjamin Netanyahu, I think he needs to persuade his partners, Smotrich and Ben Gvir. I think he needs to realize they need a national unity government, and I'm hoping the leaders of the other parties that represent the other 56 seats, Gans, Bennett, and Lapierre, those are the people, those are the centrists he needs to reach out. I really think that if Israel, this is really the what we talk about at the end, but I want to assure you now, before we open this up, I think the thing is that we're worried about the state of Israel, and I think that as long as the state of Israel, there's unity, there's a national unity government. We've done that before in previous wars. I think there needs to be one now, and that's what I'm hopeful for the future. And I'm saying this without taking a specific political position. And now that I'd like to open this up, would somebody raise a hand? And if you have a question or a comment, thoughts, feelings, I'm eager to know what's on your mind. Yes, please. Yes, Sherry, please.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of problems with Netanyahu. He's going to go to trial for war crimes at this point. I mean, I really think that that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be able to stay president because of some of the things that he did that were over the top abusive. I remember saying to my husband, I was like, oh, when we return the Palestinian prisoners, the prisoners in Israel probably were doing better than the people who are living in Gaza. And then I found out, no, they weren't. The Israelis did bad things to the Palestinian prisoners. I was very sad to hear about that. They were abusive to them. They were starving them. So there's a lot of things that Israel is going to have to take some responsibility for before people are going to take them seriously. And I think there are too many secular Jews who are not going to tolerate what Netanyahu did, and I think he's going to get voted out. And I don't know about the right. I mean, it's very difficult, like in our temple, to satisfy all the people. There are people who want this, and there are people who want this, and they don't combine well. So that also is going to make it extremely, extremely difficult. So I don't see that he's going to be the person that's going to unify the government.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. Second of all, the amount of money that's going to be involved is just something that no one country could afford. Now, I don't know the other countries are really serious about putting the money into rebuilding Gaza. I think they're talking about billions of dollars and 20, 30 years to rebuild it. But I don't think it should get rebuilt the way it was, where it was just one gigantic city on cement. That's not a way to live. Israel has farms. They need to be able to grow their own food. So this will never happen again. There's some, they need to have their own water plants. They were so dependent on other countries. I mean, so it needs to be hopefully built in a different way. But they still haven't gotten rid of Hamas yet. The only good thing I can say about Hamas is that after they pulled out, Hamas started killing the Palestinians. So it proved Israel's point that they were saying Hamas was doing this. People were going, no. And then they turned around and showed us that. People are still going, oh, poor Hamas. They killed the Palestinians who fought against them. They killed the civilians. But anyway,
I appreciate that. There's a lot bottled up in there. I could feel it.
But I was part of Hashemir Seir for which we were talking about the Arabs and the Jews being friends. When I was 18. So this is not a new concept in any way, shape, or form in the central to left. I guess we were the progressives I would say in Israel. But when you have the ultra right and you have the progressives and you have the centrists, until Israel can get its life together, we're not going to be able to solve the Gaza problem.
Okay. Yeah, I have some things I could talk about, but I have a feeling there are other people that want to talk. Anybody wish to comment on Sherry and or anything, if you have any specific questions for me, and or you could just talk about feelings, so that's fine. Otherwise, I could go ahead and talk a little bit. So, anyway, I think the thing is to keep in mind is the Trump 20-point plan. It's just a broad outline, but he's basically talking about a three phases with Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. He's talking about they're not going to annex the Israel can't annex the West Bank, and there are other aspects to it, but basically,
and that's not going to fly because of the right wing wants the West Bank, and there are people there already, and they're pushing really hard for it. And I think it's going to be very difficult.
I think
with that.
I think that Netanyahu was able to say no or give a tougher time to Biden, but right now he really has nowhere to go. Trump, whatever Trump says, within reason, he's going to have to go along. So I'm suggesting that Trump may have a little more leverage in terms of getting Netanyahu, but then again, Trump needs to have a team on place himself. He's a businessman. He's very good at cutting deals. He likes to deal in dollars and cents. But in terms of a wide variety of issues, you talk about security. How does an Arab or Muslim force from Azerbaijan and Indonesia come in there, rebuilding the place? The Saudis have deep pockets. And there are other aspects of it. I think that the Abba Eban quote about the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. What in my film, what I suggest is that the Palestinians will, in other words, you can have technocrats running Gaza, and then there's a reform of the Palestinian Authority, who may eventually take over for both. Are they ready to take on statehood? They need what I call a preceptor. They in the past they've consistently, the Palestinians have made bad choices, and I really think what they need to do is, I really think that Jordan and maybe the Arab Emirates, senior Arab nation states that have experience in running a country, the Palestinians for a time may need preceptors. They may need some help to make some wise decisions, and really so basically I really think there needs to be a lot of conversations. I think that the Winston Churchill, another Churchill quote, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you need ongoing efforts, and it's not going to happen a quick deal. I think President Trump was very happy about the 20 hostages that got back. That was a quick deal, but I think that in terms of the rebuilding and jobs and over there and government and security and all the other things. But I think the thing is, I think we need to keep in mind is what happened on October 6th before the attack. What happens is the Saudis are ready to cut a deal with the Israelis. The Saudis, they saw the Abraham Accords, but they have, in their own way, they have illegitimate governments because they've ruled by force. They're not elected. The MBS, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, is not elected to do anything. He's just there by force of arms and his intelligence service. So they're nervous too. They're nervous of what the Arab Street is doing here. So, these are the things that were already in place, and Hamas just wants to be a disruptor, and it's a rather nihilistic situation. And as far as what happened to Israel, it's a terrible, terrible thing. As far as the Hamas militias and their junior partner, Islamic Jihad, what did they do? They murdered people in Israel. Okay, but what did they do with the population? They didn't hide them in the tunnels. They didn't hide food in the tunnels. They didn't hire medical supplies in the tunnels. Thomas Friedman did a podcast, and he was asked what is when Hamas leaders are asked, why didn't you do that? Their response is, this is Friedman. He says that's the UN's job. So basically, it's a very tribal thing. There are only 16 million Jews in the world. So basically, the counter narrative is coming for people who don't want to do the reading and look at it. They'll say, look what the Israelis are doing. They're killing all these people. And I know that in Israel, one of these days they're going to be commissions. They're going to find how do you fight a war where the bad guys embed themselves with civilians and make the civilians useful victims. So I realize this is a terrible, terrible situation for Israel to be in, and it creates a morally hazardous situation. And I'm not blaming Israel. There'll be all sorts of commissions. How did Hamas get away with this attack? How do we fight a war when Hamas fights a dirty war like that? And I know it's a terrible thing, and if the Israelis could figure out a way to, if they have to fight a war again, they'll find a way to fight it more surgically if that's possible. But I sent a year or so ago. I sent a copy of my film to a number of temple members, and I think the rabbi might have gotten it. And at the end of one of his sermons, he used a quote I used in my film. The thing about war, Robert E. Lee said that war should be terrible lest we grow fond of it. So that's the sort of things we need to understand. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I don't necessarily trust the Palestinian Health Agency that they have quotas of statistics about mortality. But then again, I think the thing is that the big picture is, I want to get back to the big picture, is if we could somehow get this peace on track, and maybe the Palestinians have preceptors with the United Arab Emirates, and who are wealthy, and Bahrain and all the rest, Saudi Arabia. I think that some of the things I'm talking about in the future is, I think that the Gaza, you can't afford not to rebuild Gaza, and the fact is that you need to have security in place and all the rest. And I think a free trade agreement in the Middle East would be helpful. I think a Bank of the Middle East would be helpful to build green infrastructure projects. The Saudis know they need to get away from fossil fuels and buying Gulf networks and Al Jazeera and all that. So the Saudis they need to diversify. And they need to get into IT and all the rest. And what they do with women over there in terms of liberation for women and giving them more roles in their society, that's between them and their Muslim religion and culture. And that's for them to figure out. But I really think...
At the same time, they're not choosing to do it now. And they didn't choose to do it during the war. When Israel said, go to Saudi Arabia, get out of here, Saudi Arabia didn't let them in.
Yeah.
They did not. They said, we don't want you, because the Hamas is going to be in there, and we don't want to have to deal with you. So none of the other Arab countries have ever been particularly interested in helping the Palestinians. They could have helped them a long time ago. They are not choosing to. And I don't know that they want to now either. Maybe Trump could twist some arms, but I don't know that people are going to jump up and down and say, oh, yes, I want to give you the $1 billion that you need. They haven't even opened up the gates to let the food in yet. So I don't see I think that you're putting a lot of hope on people who don't give a shit about the Palestinians. They really don't. And they're very happy to have them be like this because it makes Israel look bad, and they enjoy that. And I don't think they really want to do it.
I'm the expression you read in the paper, somebody being not realistic, is you're a Pollyanna, which means you're incessantly hopeful about things. I'm a hopeful realist, and I'm an idealist, but I'm without illusions. So I think that when you look at the Palestinians, they could have had a state in 47, 48. They could have had a state in 67. It wasn't until the Yom Kippur War that the Palestinians were given responsibility for Israel, and they took it away from King Hussein. So the Arab League and the Arab nations, they have their own. They've ignored the Palestinians, and now they have ambivalence. They're on one hand verbally they're supportive of them, but then again, when you talk about refugees from Gaza coming into Egypt and living in, let's say, Sinai, or coming to Jordan, the Jordanians are fearful of the Palestinian genie. When you look at Jordanian history, Jordan, the Palestinians during the War of Independence, what happened is the leader of the Palestinians, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, was exiled to Cairo, and what happened? King Abdullah absorbed the West Bank, and then what happened is the Palestinians got their revenge. A Palestinian nationalist assassinated King Abdullah I, and his grandson King Abdullah, or great grandson King Abdullah II, he's cautious about this. But then again, 20 to 25% of the population is Palestinian. So basically, I think we need to look at, in my film, what I'm talking about is, if Christians and Protestants and Catholics can make peace in Northern Ireland, can Jews and Muslims make peace in the Middle East? When Muslims and Christians in Bosnia Herzegovina can make peace, then it's possible for Jews and Muslims to do it. So how do you do that? Is you have to be sick of killing, and I think you have to look at models, the United Arab Emirates, they decided to have prosperity. Their attitude is when you have business between Muslims, Christians, and Jews, business is business. Peace and prosperity is highly great, is great to do. Whereas the Hamas, they took $1 billion from Qatar over many years. They did it to expand on the underground tunnels the Israelis built and left in 2005, and then they created a war machine. And the fact is, Hamas has brought misery, death, and destruction to the Palestinian people. And if you have a lot of these university students, some of them are at Columbia University, they must be, if they do some additional reading, they'll realize having houses and food and jobs and some sort of state is certainly preferable to living in misery and homelessness and being stateless. So I really think the road less traveled was the United Arab Emirates, where they're right between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and they're making peace with both of them, and they provide a whole range of business related services, and they're making a lot of money, and they're doing well, and they're part of the Abraham Accords. And how is that the road normally taken is Hamas and their junior partner, Islamic Jihad. Look what they've done to Gaza. It's a basket case. So I really think that when you look at what's happening in Northern Ireland, and after 50 or more years of killing between different Christian groups, and they made peace with each other, I think that I'm hoping that sometimes it takes a catastrophe for people to come to their senses. So I'm not a Pollyanna. I'm a hopeful realist, and I believe that it's going to take a while to put a peace plan together, and they're looking for leadership from the United States. I think Jared Kushner is a good guy with the Abraham Accords. Tony Blair can be a very good guy on the Middle East. So I think President Trump doesn't care so much about detail. He just wants results. But I think that these two fellows, and there are others.
He just wants the Nobel Prize. That's all he wants.
Who's this? Go ahead.
He just wants a Nobel Prize. He's doing it because he wants the Peace Nobel Prize. That's all he wants.
It really doesn't matter who gets a prize.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's what I care about. I'm saying that's why he's doing it, because he wants to get that Nobel Prize. But I think once he gets it, he probably done. Going on something else now.
Well,
I would not trust Trump.
I may not agree with you, but I defend your right to say it.
I don't trust him as a person who's going to settle this. I think it's going to have to be other people. He's too flighty, and he doesn't stick with anything long enough. And I think it's going to be maybe Jared Kushner. Seems like he's doing a good job, but I don't think it's going to be Trump that's going to resolve this. So we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, there are all sorts of things I could talk about. I could talk about my ideas, but that's policy wonky stuff. And the last thing I want to do is be boring here. So, I could, if people want me to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Middle East and with Israel, and we could talk about Iran, and we could talk about what the West Bank and Gaza could look at. But then again, we don't have to. You could just watch my movie, and we could call it a day. So I want to be part of the solution in this meeting, not part of the problem. So tell me. So instead of me going on and on, watch my movie. I'm going to make a decision. Unless you ask me a specific question, watch my movie. Get in touch with me and/or speak to some of the stakeholders here. I'll send you the movie. I could send you these letters, and we could go on. But if anybody has any comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, we could continue to talk. Otherwise, we're at about 40 minutes or so, which is good. Last time it was a good talk. We were at about 50 minutes. So anyway, it's been a good talk, and thank you, Shari, for keeping me on my toes. So with that said, any more questions? Going once, going twice. We could call it a day. And I'm at synagogue twice a month, and you can talk to me anytime. And I'm willing to give more talks in the future. I don't think I'm going to join the choir. But it's a pleasure. I just want to say,
No good. If you don't join the choir, we're not going to listen to you.
Good.
Join.
Good. Well, let's. This is a friendly get together. Let's all be nice. But anyway, it's a pleasure being with you guys. And I'll be. We can talk about this or any other topic. I have a wide variety of topics to propose to Judy Pessa in the future. But it's been great talking to you. So class dismissed.
Thank you, Michael, for such an informative presentation. I think you have all of us thinking very hard, and we will always value your knowledge and experience. And thank you too, Shari, for giving us your input. And speaking of knowledge, if you would like for all of us to learn even more, please join Judy Lee and me on the Adult Learning Committee. We need your ideas. Please contact us. So Michael, thank you so much again. And thank you to all you congregants for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I just want to mention that Michael's phone number and email are in the chat.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
It's a pleasure
Good night.
and a privilege. Bye-bye.
Good night, Barbara. Hope to see you again.